Now, if we take a look and examine the entire sequel trilogy that was all started by J.J. Abrams, it's pretty safe to say that the biggest mystery of all has all to do with Palpatine and Supreme Leader Snoke, and exactly how everything is going to unfold in Episode 9. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about The Rise of Skywalker that a lot of fans are either very worried, excited, or apathetic towards is the fact that JJ will be connecting this movie to the originals, the prequels, and even using Star Wars Legends material as a way of telling the story in a very unique and original way in the first, second, and third acts of Episode 9. And that's J.J. Abrams' plan, is to really make this movie pretty much in tune with Star Wars Legends in order to satisfy some of the Star Wars hardcore fans out there that are very much knowledgeable with the EU from the 1990s into the early 2000s. That's going to be used as the inspirational source material to tell the story of multiple different characters in this movie. Now, like I say, just a couple of weeks from now, we will finally be able to see J.J. Abrams' Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker and exactly how everything really ends. However, what's really intriguing has all to do with one of the opening sequences in the film that involve Kylo Ren and a huge mystery of Snoke that will be answered in Episode 9. Now, specifically, shot descriptions consisting of a sequence where it's explained that Kylo Ren is said to land his TIE fighter on the dead world of Exegol, where he is said to have the Wayfinder device in the very beginning of the film, where it's explained that he is said to sense a dark and powerful energy source within Palpatine's base that is said to be a large black cube resting on top of the surface of the world of Exegol. Now, it's said that as Kylo Ren walks toward the black cube on Exegol, he ignites his crossguard lightsaber, where he then enters Palpatine's hidden base and takes an elevator down to another level below the surface of Exegol. This is where Kylo Ren enters a dark room within dozens of large tanks full of strange forms of liquid within each and every one of them, where he sees these creatures walking around in black cloaks that go under the names of them called being relics. These relics are said to be Palpatine's servants on Exegol and creators, and are a part of a secret operation on one of the levels of Exegol, where it's said that one of the sequences involves Kylo Ren approaching one of the large tanks, where Kylo decides to look into the tank where it is revealed to be Snoke. It's explained that all of the tanks are full of clones of Supreme Leader Snoke, one after the other as Kylo Ren walks his way through the base on Exegol, where Kylo becomes intimidated. It's unveiled that in the very beginning of the film that Palpatine used Snoke as a puppet, and that the Snoke in The Force Awakens and in The Last Jedi was one of many clones of Snoke. However, the Snoke species called the Midwu are said to have been born over in the unknown regions, and that Palpatine somehow was able to make clones of the real Snoke, who was around 800-something years old. Though Kylo did kill the original Snoke, it's unveiled that Palpatine had dozens of clone bodies of Snoke kept as backups that are not fully developed yet. It's said that Palpatine also had other plans with the Snoke clones that will be explained later on in the third act of the film, where it's said that J.J. Abrams got this idea from Star Wars Legends, where there are dozens of Palpatine clones that Luke eventually destroyed in the Dark Empire comic series, and that Abrams used this as a way of inspiration of telling the secret of Snoke's story at the very beginning of the movie. Palpatine was able to control Snoke the entire time during The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi at will, and at times will be able to disconnect with Snoke and let him control the First Order, while Palpatine would do his own thing. So let's go over a couple of parts about this and as to why this really does change the game to Star Wars as a whole, and why some fans may actually like or dislike this idea. I, however, think that this is a great way to just kind of answer things really fast and kind of wrap things up in the very beginning of the movie. And not just that, we can see that J.J. Abrams was already inspired by Star Wars Legends. We knew this right from the get-go when he started writing this movie, that Episode 9 would be very heavy on the expanded universe and taking inspiration from the EU without directly copying it. So in the EU, we had Palpatine clones, and now in the brand new expanded universe under Disney, alright, in the new universe of Star Wars, we have clones of Snoke. Now, the thing about this is that, of course, the species are actually called the Midwu, and Palpatine was able to somehow, some way clone the original body of Snoke, who was around 800 something years old, an ancient being that he found over in the unknown regions and connected mentally with, speaking of course, for many years. And what's really interesting about that is that this does really explain everything that we all wanted to know about Supreme Leader Snoke on the world of Exegol. Why Snoke was killed so very fast in The Last Jedi could very well explain Rian Johnson's decision, perhaps. Or this could just be Disney and Lucasfilm's way of justifying of why Rian Johnson killed off Snoke so fast within the middle point of the sequel trilogy. Now, I will say that Snoke is a fantastic villain. I actually like that villain. I think that they did a good job on him in The Force Awakens. Only for him to be killed in The Last Jedi was very disappointing. And now in Episode 9, I think that we are going to get mixed reactions on this decision by JJ of making Snoke essentially a clone, if you will, or at least a part of this plan by Palpatine of cloning Snoke, where basically he was meaningless the entire time. Basically, he was just a puppet of Palpatine. Now, of course, this values the character Palpatine. This shows us how, powerful Palpatine really is and how much of a manipulator he really can be in the Star Wars franchise and how he really is the true puppet master. Now, what I do like about this is that J.J. Abrams is borrowing elements from Star Wars Legends. The problem that I do have with this, the big problem that I do have with this, and I will say this right now and be honest, is that JJ could have just done this with Palpatine. He could have just easily done this storyline for Palpatine. What do I mean by this? Well, he didn't necessarily need to have Palpatine stay alive after Return of the Jedi, somehow sacrificing the, sacrifice of Anakin Skywalker and, what he did to save his son and to actually destroy the Sith once and for all. They could have had the real Palpatine die, where clone bodies would be used later on in the series, by use of essence transfer or his spirit, whatever it may be. But Palpatine's body, the original one, survived, yet Snoke, there are clones of Snoke. So it's very possible that Palpatine plans to take over those Snoke bodies. This almost reminds me of what they're doing with Star Wars The Mandalorian. I don't know if you guys watched it. If you guys haven't seen the first episode, back out of this right now. But in The Mandalorian, we do see Baby Yoda, and it's implied that there are actual clones of these Baby Yoda species, or of these Yoda species, if you will, that can be used by either, somebody else in the future to use them as weapons or something around those lines. We don't know. But it is heavily implied in The Mandalorian that actual Yoda species are being used as clones. Now, this reminds me of what Palpatine is doing with Snoke. He's using the Snoke species as a way in order to do something very much secret. Why does he have dozens of clones? You got me. The fact that he was able to use Snoke as a puppet in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi is an interesting twist. I will add, it's a very interesting twist, but I just believe that it's a little contradictory of what they could have actually done with the EU and just kind of copied the EU for Palpatine. Basically, J.J. Abrams could have done this idea with Palpatine instead of just having it for Supreme Leader Snoke. It almost seems like, and it almost comes off like Disney and Lucasfilm are trying to use this as a way to justify why Rian Johnson killed Snoke so fast at the middle point of the trilogy, basically making Snoke somewhat meaningless, that he was just a part of this big clone plan, and that he was just used as a puppet by Palpatine. Now, I actually like the fact that he was used as a puppet by Palpatine. That part I do enjoy, and we actually went over that just last week. We talked about this. You guys may recall we went over one of the big twists in the movie of Palpatine being the ultimate puppet master, controlling Snoke remotely, as if he is able to take over his body and do what he wants to do from afar, because Palpatine cannot leave the unknown regions. He needs the Wayfinder device, and that's exactly what Kylo Ren is going to give to him. Of course, Kylo doesn't plan to give it to him, but Palpatine indirectly lured Kylo Ren over to Exegol with the Wayfinder device. This way Palpatine can actually get a hold of that device to go back. So anyways, guys, I would like to hear what you all have to say about the opening sequence for, of course, the world of Exegol. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
Snoke.